Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stu here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Feedback video, go through some of the comments on yesterday's video, see what people were talking about there, and also give an update on the current situation here in Spain. And the fact of the matter is that this is changing daily. I don't really know what's going on at the moment. It's all a bit too confusing for me. Is Madrid confined? Is it not confined? Is there going to be a state of alarm? Is there not going to be a state of alarm? And that all makes everything very, very confusing, at least for me, and I think the majority of people living in the autonomous community of Madrid. And it's just been announced that the central government is going to impose a state of alarm on the Madrid community. So I don't know what that means exactly, but we'll see in coming hours, coming days, what exactly that means for people living in this part of the world. If you're not living in Madrid, probably nothing is changing where you are, and you're just sitting back watching what's happening in Madrid and laughing at the way that this situation is being handled by the politicians in this country. So let's go back a week or so and see what has happened to get us to this situation where we are now. So last week, the central government said that Madrid City, Madrid capital, and 9 other areas in the Madrid community had to be confined or go into a type of lockdown because their health numbers were out of control. The Madrid government challenged that decision in the courts, and yesterday it was ruled by the courts that the restrictions were not legal and that they had to be lifted and people would be allowed to travel wherever they wanted to go. And one of the main reasons for the court coming out and saying what they did, apparently it wasn't legal for the Spanish government to limit people's freedom of movement. So yesterday, 3.5 million people in the capital city were happy that they would finally be able to get their freedom of movement back. They would be able to go away on holiday because, of course, this weekend is a long weekend. It is the National Day here on Monday, the 12th of October. They call it the Dia de la Hispanidad. And of course it is a public holiday. It's when the army normally comes out and rolls down the center of Madrid showing off their power in their tanks, their planes. A couple of parachutists come down with the big Spanish flag and they show this day of solidarity with a military parade in the capital city. But apparently that's not going to happen this year for obvious reasons. It also meant that a lot of people were looking forward to be able to get out of the city, go to their villages, go to their towns, go to their second homes, go away to the coast on holiday for the long weekend. The Madrid government, however, warned people against doing this. They said that they should still stick to some type of restrictions, that they shouldn't go crazy and travel all over the country, but I don't know how many people were going to listen to the Madrid government. And of course it became another war between the central government, between the health ministry and the government here in Madrid. They were going back and forth with this and with that, and it all became very confusing. And then the central government announced that they were going to impose a state of alarm, or at least they were thinking about imposing a state of alarm on the Madrid community, which today they have announced. So the way that politicians have dealt with this crisis here in Madrid, the central government, the Madrid government, has been absolutely ridiculous. And as we said the other day, it is absurd what is going on here at the moment. I can't imagine what people in other countries are thinking about Spain at the moment, looking at the news and reading what's going on here and wondering what is going on in this country. They just can't agree on anything at a political level. It is an absolute disgrace. And while all of this political uncertainty is going on, people are still getting sick. People are still going to hospitals, people are still going into the ICU wards, and people are still dying, unfortunately, of this virus because the politicians just can't get it together. They just can't come out with some clear message to make people understand exactly what we're dealing with. So as I said, Madrid in a state of alarm phase, don't know exactly what that means. Now it's going to affect me, of course, because I think it's the whole community of Madrid that's in the state of alarm, whereas before just the capital city and 9 other places around Madrid were confined. But now the whole of the community of Madrid is in a state of alarm situation, and I don't know what that means for me exactly yet. I'll have to read the press and try to find out what is going on. Now, the Prime Minister also yesterday announced his recovery fund, this great plan that he has to rebuild the Spanish economy, to transform the Spanish economy into a modern European economy. He's going to invest a lot of money over the next few years. The main focus of the country is going to be a green transition, a move towards greener energy sources. And they also announced what they call a digital transition as well. Put lots of money on the table in order to modernize companies so that they're able to compete in a digital world. And the idea also is to create jobs. I think he's planning to create some 800,000 jobs. Now, I don't know exactly how he's going to do this because, as we know, one of the big problems in Spain is always with unemployment. No government seems to be able to create jobs except if it's in the construction sector. In fact, this is a country that knows how to destroy jobs, but it doesn't know how to create them. So I don't know exactly what Pedro Sánchez, the Prime Minister, has in mind for this, but I don't know if he's going to be successful with his plan to create so many jobs. And the main objective, as we mentioned the other day, is to keep that unemployment rate down to around 20%. Now, I saw someone in the comment section saying that Spain's unemployment figure is not real. It's not really so high. It's just the way that they calculate the unemployment figures here. It looks bad, but it's not really as bad as it seems. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, then the government needs to change the way they calculate the unemployment figure in order to get it down to the same as other European countries or other Western countries around the world, because it looks terrible to have a 20% unemployment rate when the majority of countries in Europe have an unemployment rate around 8, 10, 12%. 20%, in my opinion, looks really, really bad. And as I just mentioned, governments here historically have had problems to create jobs. I remember back in 2008 when the financial crisis hit Spain, the then Prime Minister, Mr. Zapatero, also had a plan to create jobs. He called it the Plan E, and it was an infrastructure project in which they were going to do lots and lots of building work in order to keep people in jobs, keep people employed when that housing bubble here in Spain burst. But as we know, it didn't work and a lot of money went down the drain. So that's why I'm a little bit skeptical when I hear these job creation schemes. I remember somebody famous once said it's very easy to create a job. You get one person to dig a hole, you get another person to fill it in, and there you've got 2 jobs. So hopefully the government won't follow that method of job creation. The Prime Minister has called all of these funds that the country is going to have access to Spain's Marshall Plan, and other people are saying that it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to change the country. But as always, there are already some critical voices out there. People are already warning of the very high risk that the money gets spent on other things, that the government could potentially misuse the money for its current spending problems. And of course, that's where a lot of the worries lie, because as we know, the country has a huge debt burden at the moment. So there is a possibility that all of the money will get sucked up into the current spending and not used to transform the economy. And let's be honest, it's a very, very ambitious plan. Apart from those 2 things that I just mentioned, the green transition and the digital transition, the Prime Minister also earmarked 10 other areas where they're going to try to make some changes, for example, in health, education, obviously, infrastructure and employment, to mention just a few. So the country is in for an interesting couple of years. And finally, just a quick update on what's going on with the royal family. The king apparently today is in Barcelona. He has been met with the typical hostility that he normally gets in that part of the world. He's not a very popular person in Catalonia, apparently. There's a lot of people there that don't want Catalonia to be part of Spain, and there's also a very big Republican movement there as well. And of course, with his visit to Barcelona today, lots of protests, lots of people out and about in the streets, blocking the roads, burning flags, all of the typical activity that happens when the King of Spain visits that part of the world. And it got me thinking about Queen Elizabeth or other European royals. Do they put up with the same thing whenever they travel around their country? If the Queen of England goes to Scotland, does she put up with that type of thing as well? If she goes to Wales, if she travels to other parts of England, do people create a hostile environment there for her? Normally the images we see whenever the Queen visits a place is that people are on the streets with flags and everybody seems to be supporting the monarchy. We don't see a lot of people burning flags or protesting when the Queen of England pays a visit. So maybe that's another unique characteristic of Spain. But hey, it seems that a lot of people in Barcelona, a lot of people in Catalonia like to protest, and they seem to have turned it into a fine art in that part of the world. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up from the newly confined Madrid community. I'm sure that the police are closing the borders and the ways in and out of the Madrid community at the moment. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.